Was good, y'all? Rich Sosa back in a building, and as y'all can see from the looks of the title and the screen today, I'm going to be showing y'all how to create the top 3 best shooting guard builds in NBA 2K23, and this is going to be both for current as well as next gen. So before we get any further into today's video, I just want to go ahead and say thank you God for another day and another opportunity. But man, y'all already know what y'all need to do. Be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, turn on post notifications to jump on board with the Rich family, and don't forget to smash that like button. Let's go ahead and get into the making of this first shooting guard build. It's actually going to be called the two-way 3-level scorer, but I'm telling y'all, we're going to go ahead and of course make this build at the shooting guard position. For the height, I'm going to go with 6'6". Now for the weight, go with 235, and the wingspan will be 7'3". Now as we get into the breakdown of this build, I'm telling you, on the offense and defensive end, we're going to have everything that we need, and you can even consider this to be some type of lockdown build. Now as we go ahead and continue with the making of this build, feel free to make your own adjustments as we go along. Now for everybody who has already made their Season 1 2K23 build, comment down below what is your build name, and if you have a build that I have not even heard of yet, I might hit you up for the details, so just be ready in case. Now for the finishing, we're going to be able to get a total of 18 badges out of this area. Now I did go with a 92 driving dunk, but I did not adjust my vertical in order to get all of the elite contact dunks. Now the reason why I did that, I wanted to make sure that this build was going to be as balanced as I possibly can make it. Now if you want to, you can go back and make the adjustments that I didn't, but again, this is really just one of those builds that's going to be more well-rounded, especially when it comes down to the defensive area. You have everything that you need. You're going to be able to guard 1 through to 5 if you know how to play defense perfectly. Now I say that because on this build, not only are you going to be able to get the stats of a lockdown defender, but on the offensive end, you're going to be able to do pretty much a little bit of everything. Now as you can see with the badge count right here, 18 when it comes down to the finishing, we get 22 on the shooting, 14 for the playmaking, and then once we wrap it up for the defense, we get a total of 23, and I'm going to make the adjustments for that right now. Now if we add all of the badges together, that's a total of 77 badges on this build. Now once you become a starter in my career, it's going to give us a +4, so add that in. That's going to be 81 badges in total. Now as you can see, we get a 92 perimeter defense, 90 steal. Then when it comes down to the badges, we get 3 gold tier badges out of this area on the defense. Now honestly, when it comes down to the defensive area itself, I would have to say out of every other area on this build, the defense is definitely the strongest. Now when it comes down to the playmaking, I wanted to be sure that we had just enough to be able to move at our own pace. When it comes down to the shooting, however, we have more than we need. As you can see, we do get silver limitless range, a lot of tier 3 badges that will be gold, but once you go ahead and look at tier 1 and tier 2, you get Hall of Fame and only gold for this area out of this build. Now for the physicals, you can make your own adjustments in order to get Midi Magician on Hall of Fame. Now right here, I did adjust my acceleration. Then I ended up going with an 81 mid-range shot, and right there, we have Midi Magician on Hall of Fame, and we were able to bring up that free throw. Now, if you want to, this is just one setup that I would go with. If you want to keep it originally how I had it, go ahead and leave the stats as is. Now for the finishing, I get gold limitless takeoff. Then also when it comes down to the contact dunks, if you want to adjust it, you'll be able to get at least some of the pro contact dunks on this build. So as you can see, we get the slashing, sharpshooting, and the lockdown takeover. Whichever one is more catered to your playstyle, pick those two, but I'm going to go with first limitless range as well as extreme clamps. Now let's go ahead and check out the build name. We're going to go ahead and take it to this screen. Now for everybody who was still watching, let me know if you created the build exactly how I brought it to y'all, or if you made your own adjustments. But as y'all can see, at number 1 out of the shooting guard position, I'm bringing y'all the two-way 3-level scorer. And again, the next 2 builds, I'm telling y'all, still going to be shooting guards made completely different from how we made this one. So let's go ahead and get into the making of our next build, the two-way inside arc maestro. Now as we go into breaking this build down, I'm telling y'all, not only are you going to be taller, but you're going to be able to play better defense as well as have different takeovers on top of it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put it as number 2 since this is the second build. Now, for the height, I'm going to go ahead and change it up a little bit. I'm going to go with 6'9". When it comes down to the weight, go with 220. Or you can go with 215, but for the next build that I'm going to be working with, you can go with anywhere from 215 to 220. Now, For the wingspan, go with 7 feet exactly. Now let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of the attributes. So on this build, we're going to be pretty solid and stacked when it comes down to the finishing. As you can see, we get a 91 close shot, which means the post hooks are going to be super overpowered. And once you consider adding boost on this build, you may be even able to get a 99 close shot. Now for the driving layup, I'm going to go with an 87. 55 for the standing dunk, but that's only for badge purposes. Now for the post control, I'm going to go with an 80, and right there we get a total of 16 finishing badges. Now for the shooting, I'm going to go with an 80 for the mid-range, 76 for the three-pointer, and then a free throw of an 88. And this build low-key is reminding me of a Shaq build, but with the ability to shoot from anywhere. Now for the free throw, this really comes down to the way that you want to work around it. I would say that I want to be able to take this build into any game mode, so I'm going to go ahead and raise this to an 88, and right there we get a total of 18 badges. Now so far, looking on the offense and the defensive end, I'm telling y'all we're going to be pretty balanced when it comes down to it. Now for the playmaking, 87 ball handle as well as an 87 pass accuracy. Now if we take a look at the offensive badges alone, we get a total of 56 badges, but now once we go ahead and add in the defensive area, we're going to be able to bring this number all the way up to 74. Now from there, we're going to go ahead and get into the physicals, but remember, this is the most crucial part because you don't want a build coming out there to the park or the city not being able to move around in the way that you want most of all. So for my speed, I'm going to go with an 81. 76 when it comes down to my acceleration. Now for the strength, I do not want to be weak out there, so I'm going to go with the 74. 74 when it comes down to my vertical. Now when it comes down to the stamina, I'm going to go ahead and throw the rest into this area, and right there we get a total of 91. Now honestly, for the badges that we did unlock, I feel like we have everything and more that we need. You're going to be able to guard pretty much every position 1 through the 5. Now, if you make adjustments on this build, we may be getting a different build name. But as far as if you follow along with the main attributes like the shooting, the mid-range, especially with the playmaking, and then when it comes down to the finishing, make sure that you maintain that close shot and the driving layup. If you do that, I promise you everything's going to work out in your favor with getting the build name. But let's go ahead and check out which takeovers that we're going to get on this build. Now, I'm telling y'all, when you adding your takeover activated, that's going to give you a plus 10 put towards whichever area of the build your takeover is going to apply for. So let's just say right now that since we have an 80 mid-range, if you pick a shot creating takeover, that's going to bring us up to a 90. So just one thing to take into consideration. But as you can see, we do get the shot creating takeover, the playmaking, the lockdown defender, as well as the post scoring, which is why I was stressing that we need to maintain the close shot as well as the driving layup. Pretty much everything when it comes down to the finishing. Now for the first takeover, I'm going to go with ankle breaking shots. The second one will be extreme clamps. Let's go ahead and check out the build name, and remember, if you wanted to, you definitely can go with the post scoring takeover. If I were to, I would go with power backdowns. Now from here, I'm telling y'all, you have a lockdown defender type build that's going to be able to guard 1 through the 5. You're going to be able to post up with that post scoring takeover. Super cheesy 1v1 build. And as y'all can see, we have created the two-way inside the arc maestro build. Now we have one final build lined up for y'all today, and I'm telling you, I probably saved one of the most rare for last. So as you can see, coming up at number 3, the build that we're going to be making out of the shooting guard position is going to be the pure shooter build. Now for those of y'all who know Tracy McGrady, this is going to be the T-Mac build right here. So let's go ahead and get started by putting it under the shooting guard position. Now for those of y'all who have not done so yet, be sure to go ahead and hit that like button, turn on post notifications, and sub to the channel so you can be a part of the Rich family, because I'm uploading content like this every single day. And I would not want y'all to miss out on every single fire build that I'm bringing to y'all. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to put this build at the height of 6'9". When it comes down to the weight, I'm going to go with 220 and a 7'2" wingspan. Now essentially you can change these physicals, but you're not going to be able to get the same numbers that I'm going to be bringing to y'all out of this shooter build. So let's go ahead and get started with the physicals. I'm going to go with an 89 when it comes down to my stamina, 72 for the vertical, 82 for my strength, 76 acceleration with an 80 speed. Now look, I just want to go ahead and give a word of encouragement to all of my followers and supporters out there. If you want to go ahead and start your own YouTube channel, or you have something in mind, an idea or a gift, go ahead and pursue it, because I promise you, you're never going to know what comes out of it unless you actually put your all into it. And I just want y'all to know, you can do anything that you put your mind to. So I love y'all. If you need any advice, be sure to go ahead and reach out to me. And more than anything, just know that God has you. Now, let's go ahead and get into the making of this build again. As you can see, with the defensive end, we're going to be able to get a total of 22 badges. Now, on this build, I'm telling y'all, you need to take into consideration which areas you want to make adjustments to if you want to go about this build making differently. So I'm pretty happy with 22 total defensive badges. This looks pretty balanced all around, but when it comes down to the playmaking, I'm going to get 17 badges, but I did max out with an 87 ball handle. Then when it comes down to the shooting, you have an 85 mid-range and a three-pointer. Then you're also going to be able to get more of the pro contact dunks on this build. Now, essentially, if you want to make adjustments, I would go ahead and say leave the ball handle as well as the defensive area. Take away from the shooting or adjust anything to the finishing, but you want to maintain the playmaking, defense, and the physicals mainly for this build. Now, if you want to get a completely different build name and you don't care about the shooting, you can even bring the 85s all the way down to the 70s. And yes, I'll go ahead and be real with y'all, you may get a different build name by doing that, but honestly, as long as you have just the basis of the playmaking and defense with the physicals, you're going to be set to go with a very solid build. Now, in total, we get 79 badges, adding the +4 from becoming a starter. That's going to be 83. Now, as you can see, we do get the glass cleaning takeover. Also going to be able to get the sharpshooting, shot creating with the slashing. Now, for my best interest, if you want to make this the most overpowered build, I would go with first, ankle breaking shots takeover. Second, going to be see the future. Now, let's go ahead and check out the build name. And at the first comparison, as you can see, we were able to get T-Mac as well as Brandon Ingram. And right here, with the build name, we have created the rare pure shooter build. Now, once more, thank you to everybody who supported throughout this entire video. And man, I just want y'all to know I'm dropping them every single day, so y'all already know what y'all need to do. Be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, and turn on post notifications to be a part of the Rich family. And I would appreciate it if y'all went ahead and ran up those likes. Let me know in the comments where are you tuning in from, as well as what you thought about these top 3 shooting guard builds in NBA 2K23. But man, with all that being said, I got one last thing to say. Thank you, God, for another day and this opportunity. And Rich out.